All right, guys, so I wanted to talk today about a topic that has been on my mind and I've been thinking about it for a while. And I was wondering why that is. So the gun community, the Second Amendment community has a lot of very strong opinions on certain things. One of those things is that if it hasn't been through combat, if it hasn't had documented cases of being shot with an AK-47 and surviving it, that it is just a trash product and it is not worthy of your dollars. And so I wanted to talk about kind of like buyer beware and starting to discuss products that new companies have come out with, what that whole process is like. You have companies like SIG, who people have accused of doing R&D and doing research and development on their customers and putting products out that aren't completely finished yet. And before I get into my opinion on all that and the opinion of kind of, I guess what I'm trying to say is like a lot of new companies come out with stuff and people just do not believe, or they talk shit on those companies, or they buy in full-fledged and they're early adopters, or the innovators rather, on that curve of buyer behavior. The innovators, early adopters, and the early majority, late majority, and then the laggards. But some people buy in 100%. They're like 100% on this new company, and then some people are like, and most people, including myself up until recently, and still somewhat, I still have my biases as well, are like, well, if it hasn't been combat proven, I don't want to waste my money on it. So before we get into the whole nitty gritty on that and kind of where I'm going with this, I have a point here, I promise, in my ADHD fashion. I just wanted to say, if you guys do want to support the channel, the biggest supporter of the channel right now is Brownells. If you head on over there, if you have anything you wanted to buy, don't do it just for me. If there's something you need for your kit, and you have the money, don't go into debt for me either. But if you have something, you want to save some money, bro code RDB10 will save you 10% off at Brownells. And then we have RangeDayBro.com for any merch. We have our Pro Gun Club t-shirt here that I designed myself. I'm really eager to hear what you guys think about our merch. All designed by me. So if you guys want to head over to RangeDayBro.com, even if you don't buy anything, just let me know what you guys think of the designs. I've gotten some mixed reviews from my friends and family, but I want to hear from you guys, my audience. You're really who I care about. So I want to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the new merch, or if you have any ideas for different designs and things like that you'd like to see. That'd be awesome. And then lastly, if you want to like, comment, subscribe, super cheesy, but it helps, especially because this kind of content is not really promoted by the algorithm. So that really helps out. So thank you guys for that. All right. So what made me think of this topic to begin with is going to be this new company that I've recently got an optic shipped to me from, Lead and Steel. And I don't know the history of Lead and Steel, and maybe they've been around a long time. Maybe a lot of you guys have heard of them, but for me, in my 5 or so years being really deep in the gun world, I have never heard of Lead and Steel until very recently, until like probably about a year ago or 6 months ago, when I started seeing videos popping up on this optic here, the Promethean LP-1. And this is pretty much like a Aimpoint and a EOTech had a baby, like a crossover, because it's not a holographic sight, but it has that big window like the EOTech does. And I'm saying all this just to say that like this is a new company that I've seen a lot of credible YouTubers and guys that I like to follow and guys that I trust do reviews on it, and they had nothing but mostly good things to say about this thing. And so that's why I was interested. But just so you guys know, I'll be 100% honest with you. Companies reach out to me a lot more recently, especially since the channel grew. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for helping me grow the channel. But since the channel grew, I have a lot of new companies I've never heard of with new products I've never imagined reaching out to me to send me products to review them. And very recently, I've had to be a lot more selective with what I'm accepting and what I'm saying no thank you to. A lot more no thank yous than things that I'm accepting, because my rule of thumb is if I wouldn't go spend my own money on it and buy it, then I probably don't want to review it, because if it's not worth my money, then why would I waste your time talking about it? And maybe that's a bad view to have, because some products may surprise me. But for the most part, when I've accepted products that I'm not wholeheartedly interested in purchasing, or I've done research on it, I've wanted for some time, I usually get a product that is, subpar, suboptimal, or very, very specific applications, and I just don't enjoy them all that much. And so I do think it is very interesting, and I am part of that camp, and I'm not saying it's right, but I'm part of that camp that is like, okay, how long has this been around? Is this bomb-proof? Is this a well-respected company? Are real-life operators using these products? Are they being used in competitions? Are they being used by my buddies? Do I know anyone who has one? Have they given me a positive feedback on it? Because I am on a fixed budget like so many of us are. And so I want to know if I'm spending my money on something that is a quality product and that I'm going to get the value out of that product. So I've tried to recently be more open-minded towards products, but that's also bit me in the ass. So buyer beware is kind of the title for this video, because it's like there are plenty of good companies coming out with good products, but there are also plenty, probably more, like fly by the seat of your pants, like overnight companies that are coming out with products, they're just throwing something out there and see if it'll stick to the wall. So, and there's nothing against those companies either. I think a lot of innovation happens that way. I like new companies coming out with things, but a lot of people didn't like Holosun for the longest time, and now those are pretty much proven to be reliable pistol optics and otherwise. Maybe not as durable as the RMRs or the Trichicons of the world, but still pretty reliable and getting a lot more people into the red dot on a pistol world. Dots on pistols are, it's kind of a barrier to entry there because of the price point. I mean, an RMR costs about the same price as a Gen 3 Glock in some places. So, that was a cool thing that Holosun did to innovate, and I'm totally pro-American companies. So Holosun is a bad example because they're made in China, but just since I'm holding this in my hand, and this is secondhand information. This is from the 1911 Syndicate video that I watched on this guy right here. The housings are machined in Hong Kong. The glass and the tech is done in Tokyo, and they're assembled in the USA. It does say assembled in the USA on the box, so I know that part to be true. But the other information, the tidbits, came from the guys over at 1911 Syndicate, which is a big shout out to them. Love their channel. Big fans of those guys. So, yeah, there'll be a video coming out on this in the future. But I just want to say there is a time for skepticism, and there's a time for exploring your opportunities and your options. If you're one of those guys who likes to be on the cutting edge, have the newest, latest, and greatest, then a company comes out with a product and you're going to buy it, great. But you got to know going into that there may be some kinks that need ironed out. Another example that I could think of is like the SIG Spear MCX. They finally, or the MCX rather, now it's the Spear MCX LT, but it took them those iterations to figure out, okay, this thing is way too heavy, it's too bulky, the handguard shifts, doesn't hold zero with IR laser aiming devices, and now they have the Spear LT, which is supposed to correct all those issues. But all those folks who bought those early generation MCXs are kind of stuck because the uppers aren't compatible, I don't think. But either way, you spent the money on that. Even if you sold it and whatever else, you sold the upper or you sold the whole gun, like you spent the money on it and then you kind of got stuck with an obsolete product. I've heard Huxworks being criticized of that in the past. SIG, they're at the top of the list as far as like, there's a lot of SIG lovers and a lot of SIG haters. I'm in the middle. I mean, I like SIG. I don't think they're like a terrible company, but it is kind of eyebrow raising, and it makes you second guess a little bit when you're buying a new SIG product. It's like, hey, wait a year for the SIG, to work out the kinks. And a lot of people say that about Springfield. The Prodigy I got, everyone's like, dude, that was handpicked for you. No way that was, made it through 400 and something rounds before I got my first, failure to go fully in a battery on that thing. But nevertheless, like there's a lot of companies that come out with cool, innovative products, and it's like, what do? Do you buy the product the first thing? I'm always a fan of waiting to see what reviewers, because I mean, this came for free from Lead and Steel, so this is zero money out of my pocket. Would I have purchased this with my own money? If I didn't have a red dot at all, I don't know what these actually go for, but I don't know if I would have. But it's nice to have people that you trust, like myself or like any other of your YouTube, gun tubers that you like, to get these products and then show you how they work. And, any products, just for full disclosure, any products I've gotten in the past, the only thing I've gotten from those companies is the product. They don't, one other company provided ammo for me, but I've never been paid for a review. I refuse to ever be paid for a review. So that you guys can rest assured knowing that me and most YouTubers are the same way. At least most guys that I follow are the same way. Like they'll get a gun for free. They get to keep the gun, which is, it's great, but we're not getting paid for our opinions. Our opinions are what makes us valuable to you guys. So we're not going to those are not for sale. Opinion is not for sale, and so that's just a full disclosure so you guys know a little bit more about the background of how this stuff kind of works. But there's enough videos, I think, on the Promethean out there now for someone to make an educated decision about it. Obviously, for me to be convinced, I'm going to go shoot it, put a couple thousand rounds through it. I'm not going to be beating up on it or destroying it or anything like that. I'm just going to see how it works and compare it really to my EOTech, which is my closest apples to apple comparison. But there's tons of companies. Antimatter Industries is another one that I could think of that comes out. They came out with the scope switch. There's 100 Concepts who are doing the light caps and the ARD anti-reflective devices on the scopes and for the light cap and for your weapon mounted lights. Those are super cool. That's a company that I don't think that's been around that long, and they're coming out with some super awesome products. And those products, I mean, there's really there's no losing situation there, because if it breaks, like, okay, you're just left how you were without it. But I don't think something like a bolt carrier group is a little bit more it's a little bit more high stakes, let's say, if something were to fail on you. But I just think that I don't really know where the good middle ground is. I think I sit in the middle ground of like the early adopters, not really the innovators or the early majority, I guess. I got to show a infographic on the screen. If I can find it, I will. But I kind of sit in the middle, right after the early adopters, right to the early majority, because I do like to know that if I'm spending my money on a product, it is quality. It is going to last a long time, as long as my rifles will. And this is kind of going to segue into the next video I'm going to do for tomorrow. Is going to be about optics, because there's a lot of really great optic choices these days, and optics are some of the most underspent as far as new shooters go. I see so many new shooters buying, entry-level AR-15 and buying the absolute cheapest dog shit like Red Dot off Amazon. And so I'm going to do a whole video on optics itself. But yeah, I just think the buyer beware. Like, you need to know where you sit in that. And then I want to hear from you guys. How do you make these decisions? How do you decide whether a product is worthy of your investment or not? Is it based off of someone like me? Is it based off of, getting your hands on it in a gun shop? Or is it based off of like a friend's recommendation or blogs? What is it or is it based off of just, hey, I'm a traditional guy. I don't like anything with, what are you basing your decision off of? Because I know for me, it comes a lot from a lot of the guys I subscribe to on YouTube, a lot of the big channels that inspired me to start my channel. I like listening to those guys and hearing their opinions on things. But again, the overarching theme is I want to encourage you guys to not just go blow money on shit you don't need. If you need it, you need it. But a lot of what we say we need is really just a want. You already have a rifle that'll do most of those things. So yeah, I just think that coming off of Cyber Monday and Black Friday, you guys probably made a lot of questionable financial decisions. I luckily, knock on wood, I was very fortunate to restrain myself to, I promised myself I wouldn't do any of these major purchases or buy anything, feel pressure to buy something because it's on sale that I didn't really need. And so I'm proud of myself for that. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. How do you make these types of decisions on new products, new companies? Is it worthy of your time, your investment? And does it take somebody, actually bringing it out and letting you shoot it? Or what does it take for you guys to make that decision? So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today, guys. If you want to support the channel, RDB10 over at Brownells, RangeDayBro.com for merch and, t-shirts and whatnot. And then you can follow me over on Instagram at RangeDayBro, and you can DM me over there as well if you guys want to ask me any specific questions. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, through Instagram for right now. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great day.